This is Midnight Run on the Inside Edge Network. Here's your host, Anthony Alford.
And we are off and running. This is Midnight Run on a Monday at 12:01. I guess technically it's Tuesday now, March the 3rd. I'm Double A Anthony Alford here with you. Here on the show, being produced. I might be the only person. Let me bring my producer Eli in first. I might be the only show podcasting host in the entire country who has a future Grammy Award-winning producer as their producer. I'm the luckiest man in America right now, Eli.
Well, you know what, Double A, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. It's awesome to be back here for another week of Midnight Run. But I'm blessed. Yeah, just dropped the album, I'm sure is what you're referring to, but just dropped my album Golden Child on Friday. It's available not for all streaming platforms, it's actually available for purchase. Just like back in the days where you bought CDs and you supported your local artist. That's how we're doing it. So we're doing it that way, and come see me. You see at the Man They Call Moon. That's how to get the link. Man, thanks, Double A. I appreciate you.
Love it. Again, Eli, great weekend. And again, Eli, the producer of Midnight Run here on the Inside Edge Network, here with you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we're coming off a weekend, a full week of the NFL Scouting Combine. About 8 hours, a 6-hour drive from here in Indianapolis. And sometimes with the combine, it's like, okay, what is television telling you? What is like, it's this debate here, that debate there. What is happening? But it's nice to actually get inside perspective for somebody who was actually there, actually a part of those conversations, part of hearing all the stuff that was going on. And we have the man to do it. One of my best friends in the entire world is joining the show. He's from 92.3 The Fan. He's the producer of Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin on the Inside Edge Network on 92.3 The Fan. Let's bring on Mac Robinson. Works for the Browns Radio Network, 92.3 The Fan. And Mac joining me here on Midnight Run. Mac, welcome back to Cleveland.
Man, Double A, I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to make my Inside Edge Network debut. Man, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's a good time. I'm happy to be here, man.
So I have one very important question, and then we'll get into the actual football stuff.
Oh, even better. All right, let's
go.
How
in the world do you guys stay up this late every single day?
Dude, I have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you. It's getting harder and harder by the day. I have no idea how I've done this for so long, and maybe it's just because the combine is still like lingering on at this point for me. Because there were a few nights where we were up until like 2:30, like 3 in the morning. But yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea, man.
So I have not told this to Eli. There will come a point in time I'm going to oversleep the show. Lou's going to text me. He's going to call me. I'm going to be like dead asleep at like 11:55. It's like, dude, what are you doing? I sent the link. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. I don't have a rundown, but I'm ready. And for those who have never been to Indianapolis, my only experience in Indianapolis was the Royal Rumble last year with wrestling.
Yeah.
Indy is a phenomenal city, very walkable. You've been to the Combine a couple times. What is it like in Indianapolis?
So, and this is why, and this was my 7th year that I've been to the Combine. And so for me, like, and this is why I tell people, I'm like, honestly, because every year it gets brought up like, hey, could they move the Combine to a different town? Could they move it to LA, or could they move it to all these different spots? To me, the reason why it works in Indianapolis is, you mentioned it, the walkability, and also just the centralization of everything, where Lucas Oil Stadium is right next to the convention center, where, it has the tunnel underneath from the convention center right into Lucas Oil Stadium. There's plenty of different restaurants that you're able to hit up where, Hell, there were a couple of times where I would walk past a coffee shop, checking out one of the local comic book stores. And as I was walking past the coffee shop, I had seen a coach meeting with a reporter. I had seen different other coaching staffs that were out and about. And again, it's just everybody kind of just takes over the town pretty much at that point. And so it's, having the ability to be able to, hit up an entire town and really take it over, I think is so unique to Indianapolis. And it's credit to the entire town, especially because they're able to take all of that on in terms of, hotels, in terms of, restaurants and everything like that as well. And even the Airbnbs, like, me and a few other writers that we were able to stay at. Like, it's so interesting to see an entire town get taken over like that. And, I've been back when it's non-combine. And again, like being able to see the differences in that, but it's such a walkable town that it's really interesting in terms of how that city really has made the combine its own and really made the combine what it is today at this point.
So I do have one non-combine related question in terms of Indianapolis and the walkability.
Yeah.
Do you get the sense that when the Browns Stadium in Brook Park opens in 2029, that's kind of what they're going for, the walkability, having everything in one central location?
Yeah, I think so. And, I've had people that have asked me about, the possibility of that if the Haslams were to try to bid in to try to get the combine out of Indianapolis into Cleveland. And my only counter to that is that with the stadium being right there next to all of the hotels, the difference is that I don't know if you're going to have the infrastructure around it in order to be able to take that on. That's why, again, Indianapolis, with it all being centralized right there, but even still, like Lucas Oil Stadium is like right on the border or like right on the edge of the town. So like with it being where it's at compared to where everything else is, like you still have an entire downtown area that you can go to explore while also still having the area of Lucas Oil Stadium where the actual drills happen, where, you have the full convention center right next door where you can go ahead and have all of those interviews and everything of that go down. So I think that while, there are going to be people that try to make that case, I just don't know if there's the additional infrastructure where, again, you have a full-blown downtown area that has the full-blown walkability that's really been investing in, their Riverwalk area. They have all these different kinds of infrastructure that they've really built up over the years to where I don't necessarily know if that really can translate to the level that it's at in Indianapolis if it were to move to, say Cleveland or even to, like I mentioned, LA or anything like that. I just don't think that it would be the same as it is in Indianapolis with how it's been built up over the years.
Mac Robinson of The Fan, 92.3 The Fan, host, producer, joining us here on the show. He was at the Scouting Combine 7 straight years. Well, I know COVID, but other than COVID, 7.
Well, even in 2020, I went. I did go during 2020 right before it hit, but I didn't go in 2021. So I think 2021 I missed, 2018 I missed, and then 2023 I missed. So I missed 3, but I've gotten there 7 times.
It's amazing. And let's zero right in. We'll start with the local angles here with the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people, a lot of conversation about the combine in terms of evaluation, like, oh, who's there, who's not there. So from the Browns perspective, first off, who was there for the Cleveland Browns?
So you had Todd Monken, and kind of similar to what we've seen in the past. And I think that this is where, keeping the same front office structure in place, I think helps. You still had, Andrew Berry and company. You still had Catherine Raish and, all the big wigs when it came to the front office side. You still had Todd Monken here in town as well. He spoke on Wednesday, second time that he's spoken as a head coach of the Cleveland Browns. But, you also had, some members of the coaching staff there as well. Cleveland usually shows out pretty well in terms of representation. I think it was a couple years ago now, inadvertently had walked into the Browns coach's dinner. And I was kind of walking my way out, and not really, like, it's a little bit of a darker room. And so, like, as I'm kind of walking through, I'm like, oh, that looks like Deuce Staley. Oh, that looks like, this coach. Oh, that looks like Schwartz. Oh, and then I just looked on the table. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep moving. Okay. All right. I need to go.
It's like we know our place. We know our place.
Yeah, exactly.
This room's a little too important right now.
I'm like, I just need to go. I know that I'm going to, like, I don't want them to realize, that they might see me on Sunday. So I'm going to keep going. But anyway, so, keep on working my way through. But usually they have the coaching staff there in general as well. And I think that they were doing that as well, even though I know that Monken's still putting the finishing touches on the coaching staff as well. So I still think that they had the big wigs in terms of front office were definitely there. But I do think that a good amount of the coaching staff was there as well.
So I guess my question at that point, since obviously you've been around, been at the combine, this group, I mean, having a similar front office, but now with Todd Monken there, like, I guess compared to years past, what's different in terms of what Todd Monken's looking for in comparison to the front office? What exactly were they looking for? Other than, make the team better. What exactly were they looking for in terms of how they approached this year's combine?
Well, I think, and I'm not sure in terms of, maybe what they were looking for individually, but I can say from, listening to Todd Monken's press conference in particular, I thought that what was interesting was the fact that, he very much was preaching the fact that, hey, give me talented players, I'll make it work. And, especially talking about the offensive line, where he was talking about, despite where some people might say, hey, you might prefer more power when it comes to, your guards or your tackles, or maybe somebody who's lighter on the edge. He was preaching, look, I just need consistency. Because if you're bad at one thing and you're consistently bad at one thing, I can game plan around that. I can game plan around, if you suck in the run game, I know that I can go ahead and deal with that. But if you're sometimes good, sometimes bad, if you have the ups and downs, everything like that, I might not be able to, be as consistent with that. So, I think that for Todd, compared to previous years, and I think that we've seen this in his career, he was able to get 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns out of Jameis Winston. Granted, Jameis Winston also threw 30 interceptions, but that's also Jameis Winston. But, you were able to see success with Jameis Winston, who's more of a traditional pocket passer. By comparison, he also had extreme success with Lamar Jackson. So we've seen him be able to have success with different types of quarterbacks and really adjust to the skill sets that he's also had. In Tampa Bay, you had things that were more spread out with Chris Godwin. You also still had, O.J. Howard as well, being that tight end, and also had success with Mike Evans. Whereas in Baltimore, it was more of a two tight end set between, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. And you also still had Patrick Ricard, where he was more of that fullback set and having more power in the run game. So, for him, it's adapting to the talent that you have. And so I think that by comparison with, what was the biggest topic that we talked about this past offseason when it came to the Cleveland Browns? It was the fact that, we're going back to the Stefanski offense. It's back to the Stefanski offense. It's, hey, that we did the 1 year of Ken Dorsey's offense. We're going back to Kevin. That's going to be the success. And it was a failure. And just being honest about it. And so now we're seeing an offensive coach basically looking at it as just, look, give me the talented guys. I'll make this work. And so I think that might be a departure from what we've seen. And also the other part of it too is that he's really harped on, and, it's something that I caught in Andrew's press conference, not only, at the combine, but also at the end of the season and, at the introductory press conference as well for Todd. But, preaching the fact that this is about development and developing these players, where I don't think that we've seen that under Kevin Stefanski, where, you look at the guys that were using the resources on in terms of the offensive players that they were drafting, and you really didn't see much development. You can look at wide receiver. Obviously, we talk about Anthony Schwartz all the time, but, Cedric Tillman really has not shown much growth and development since he's been drafted in the third round. David Bell was as I would say, he was a good 5-yard curl, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like he never really developed all that much. And then, again, like seeing those guys on the offensive side, you really never saw that development from those guys. You really just kind of what you saw is what you got, and you didn't really see that development over the years. By comparison, when it was the Joe Wood staff from 2020 to 2022, you really didn't see a ton of development on the defensive side. All of a sudden, once you got Jim Schwartz in, and all of a sudden it was, hey, we're identifying these players that we think we can utilize, and we have a plan for these guys. All of a sudden, you're seeing guys that are able to develop. You're able to bring in guys via free agency like a Devin Bush that, maybe haven't had success early on in their career. Now we're able to go ahead and find that success and as they develop in this system. So I think that now you're finding guys that, are looking for those talented players and are going to be able to find roles for those talented players.
Mac Robinson joining us from 92.3 The Fan. So I guess with being at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, the other reporters, the other scouts, everybody else that you were around, from the outside looking in, like what was the overall chatter about the Cleveland Browns and the state of the Cleveland Browns and maybe what they should do moving forward? I know that's a very broad question, but like what's like the top takeaway that you heard that stands out to you even right now?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think the overwhelming, and I got a lot of go Browns, everything like that while I'm over there. First question immediately. So what's going on with Shedeur? So like, is Shedeur going to actually get a shot at it? And just immediately, just right at the gate, I'm like, I mean, look, man, and I don't mean to sound like the corporate answer when I say this too, but Shedeur is going to get an opportunity, and at least to start. I think that between him and, I hate to say it too, but between him and Watson, I think that there's an opportunity between both of them, basically to just show what they have. And I think that again, Monken has, shown a ability to get the most out of his players. I think that it's going to be interesting to see, at this point, it's been almost 2 years. It will be almost 2 years when opening day happened since, Deshaun Watson has been on a football field. And so again, like putting that into perspective after what he had dealt with previously, earlier on in his career as well, with the off the field issues as well. So I think that seeing where he's at physically versus, where Shedeur is at and in his development, because I think that we saw rookie struggles when it came to Shedeur, and we saw ups and downs. And I think that by comparison to, Dylan Gabriel, Dylan was very consistent in that, his play wasn't great, but also he didn't turn the ball over. Whereas with Shedeur, the highs were really fun, but the lows were very frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's where, you're looking for more consistency. And I think that Shedeur gave a lot of volatility last season, even though, you saw more production in certain areas. There also were things that, maybe wanted to make you want to pull your hair out at a certain point. But that was what I was getting a lot of questions about in particular. I would also say too, basically just the quarterback conversation dominated most of it. But also kind of what is it like under Monken so far? Like, what was that process like? And just understanding the fact that, hey, you know what, like going from Kevin Stefanski and how he's viewed around the league versus, going into and basically it feels like a hard pivot, at least right now, because Monken very much has had, he's had different schemes, everything like that, but also, he's been around the block. And so him finally getting that opportunity, what does a Todd Monken team look like? And, also the fact that it's Todd Monken, and by comparison, he's going ahead and he's cussing in his press conference, no problem. He doesn't care. By comparison, I'm looking at, and I'm talking with Falcons reporters that are trying to dissect what did Kevin Stefanski say and what did he mean when he said, when he didn't commit to Michael Penix, and, the way that he's brought up certain players is that a commitment? How do I read into this? And I'm like, I don't miss this. Like, I don't miss having to, read 7 degrees of Kevin Stefanski in order to figure out what the hell he's trying to say. Like, Todd Monken's going to tell you exactly how it is. And I mean, again, like, dropping multiple cusses, like with speakers going and everybody can hear it, and just getting a laugh out of everybody pretty much, where he's just like, I don't know. And he's wearing a Nike hat with a Jordan hoodie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't expect that. Like, again, Kevin Stefanski comes in, like, again, very professional and everything like that too. Whereas Todd Monken, all right, we're going to let this rip. We're going to see how this goes. And I'll let you know how I feel.
I will say this because sometimes from a broadcasting standpoint versus a fan standpoint, they do not align. So from a broadcasting standpoint, when I hear, oh, Todd Monken likes to curse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I will tell you, Double A, I was so glad I wasn't in studio.
Yeah.
I was so glad I wasn't in studio because I knew that they were going to have a field day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Give me, we say this sometimes about some of the Cavs coaches in the past. Like, if you're working the board, give me a boring head coach who I know is not going to curse. He might curse once every 8 years out of 300 press conferences. Todd Monken, oh, we got to be on alert on that dump button.
Well, and even too, like, by comparison, so like at the combine, right? So there's the main press conference that they give, and then there's also like the sidebar that they also then give an additional amount of time to. Which, I mean, okay. Like, I still didn't think that it was necessary with all the questions. Although I will say, and there was one thing that caught my attention, but I would say this after this. He cussed like another 4 times in like the 15-minute sidebar. And like, we send the audio back. And so I then text back to the studio. I'm like, hey, I'm just saying, because the day before we literally all we did was cut the beginning, cut the end for Andrew Barry. We just aired it. And this one I was like, no, you go through it and you edit that.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta listen through all of that just to make sure. But even still, and there was one reporter, I won't name the name, but there was one reporter that was trying to ask about who the starting quarterback will be, and trying to get an answer that they wanted in particular for who the starting quarterback will be. And Todd straight up looked at them and said, that's a baited question to their face, and said, next question. And literally, like, again, Kevin Stefanski would have been, hey, that's an excellent question, so-and-so. We're going to go through all of our options. We really appreciate the thought, and we will get to that decision when the time is appropriate.
I saw something on Twitter from a Falcon fan. Actually, our buddy Rico. He's a Falcons fan. And when he heard, the very first, I respect the question. I'm like,
Yep. Every week. Good luck. Have fun. I hope you have a doctorate. You'll have a doctorate in corporate speak.
Although Stefanski he was on Part of My Take. He did curse. They brought in a Buccaneers fan, and he was, and the guy was like, yes, I'm a Bucs fan. He's like, no blank. Right? I'm like, whoa, personality. I kind of did. So, any chat? So you mentioned the quarterback room. Yeah. We've heard Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson is another name, of course, what's been going on with the Colts. You brought up a bit ago about Shador that, he's going to get a shot. I don't get the sense from the outside that there's a load of confidence in the current QB room from anybody. Is it likely that you bring in Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson, somebody else to compete for the QB starting job?
I think so. And to be honest with you, I think you have to, because neither of the other guys have really given you a reason to say that, you know what, we're closing up shop. Like, I think that Deshaun, and again, like I said, it's been almost 2 years since he's touched the football field. When he was on the football field, it was statistically one of the worst showings that we've ever seen from a quarterback in the history of the NFL. And so, like, again, you can't commit there. Shedeur Sanders. I mentioned, the highs are really fun. The lows are so bad that it is incomprehensible that you can have an NFL quarterback that makes some of those decisions. And so again, it's, hey, go out and earn it. And, again, whether it be other guys in free agency, you mentioned Malik Willis. I don't see that as being an option. I think that he's going to end up going elsewhere, probably Arizona, possibly Miami. So I'm looking at those guys for Malik Willis. Anthony Richardson is an odd case for me, because I think that he would be one of the biggest heat checks. I'll put it that way. He would be a heat check for Todd Monken, because it would just be, I've done this with Jameis. I've done this with Lamar. I can do it with Anthony Richardson. Why, again, and this is where it's like again, a Sam Merrill game where he's where he's shooting really well. And then all of a sudden you see him shoot damn near at half court. And you're like, all right, Sam, chill. That's where Anthony Richardson is all right, you're pulling up a little bit deep here. Okay. Now granted, it would probably be for a 5th round pick. It's not going to be a high cost. And that's why, I know I brought it up on the fan of potentially going after Richardson. I don't mind it, just because from a cost standpoint, there's really not much you can not much worse you can get. But also I've heard they have interest in potentially drafting a quarterback this year. I think that that's something that's on the table.
So real quick, is there real smoke with Ty Simpson?
I think that there's interest, not at 6. Okay. So from what I was told in Indy, if you thought the media thought very low of the quarterbacks in this draft class, the NFL thinks worse. The NFL is extremely low on this quarterback class in particular. And so, I heard that Mendoza is probably going to be the only quarterback selected in the 1st round, outside of maybe trading in for the last couple of picks. But outside of that, there is very little interest in this quarterback group. And, it could be Ty Simpson being QB2. It could be Garrett Nussmeier. It could be Drew Aller being quarterback 2 after Fernando Mendoza. But it's a very steep drop-off, and there's a lot of bets on tools. But whether it be Drew Aller, obviously you have the up and down play, but he does have a ton of starts. Garrett Nussmeier, you have the injuries that he dealt with. What Garrett Nussmeier are you getting? And then also, too, with Ty Simpson, you saw the highs, and he obviously dealt with injuries the second half of the year, but he only has 12 starts. So, that's a very real concern that teams have. And so because of that, the rest of this quarterback class, teams are not high on this quarterback class at all.
Wow. It's not surprising, but to hear that insight, that's very telling. 30 seconds or less, Mac. Cavaliers with James Harden. You feeling good about getting to the finals with James Harden?
I'm feeling fantastic. I was somebody that wasn't a massive fan of the deal initially. I very much was upset and was really wondering what you're getting out of that. It took about the Nuggets game where I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm in. It took me very little. I see the vision. It just better work out in the postseason. But at the same time, I'm really excited to see where this team goes.
Love it. Love it. Our very first guest on the short history of Midnight Run from 92 through the Fan, Mac Robinson. Thanks for joining the show. Love it. Love it. Love it. Hopefully Mac can go to bed now and get some rest, because again, traveling from Indianapolis and all that stuff. I got to show you guys something. This is amazing. This popcorn is phenomenal. This is from BA Sweeties. This is the BA Sweeties All-American Cheddar popcorn. We talk all the time about, the candies and stuff you can get, and you can get the candies from BA Sweeties, and you should, whether it's the traditional candies or, the unique treats at BA Sweeties. You get jelly beans, you can get, the classic Cokes. This popcorn right here effing smacks. Okay, listen, and I want to shout out Eli for picking us up. We actually, Eli and I and our Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast co-host Kyle Cornell. We watched the Elimination Chamber, and we had this popcorn, and this is great. I have to be disciplined. It's 12:31, so I can't eat the popcorn myself late, but let me show you. The bag starts up here. Up here. I still got more to go. This popcorn is amazing. And you get it at BA Sweeties. BA Sweeties here locally in Cleveland. Interstate 480, the Ridge Road exit. Make a left on Brook Park Road. You see the giant lollipop, head right on in. 75 years, the largest candy store in North America. BA Sweeties. Let them know. Double A sent you. Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast, Midnight Run, Inside Edge Network. We sent you. And I'm telling you right now, get the cheddar popcorn. They also have Buffalo Ranch. They have a ton of popcorn flavors and stuff. You can get traditional popcorn too. This is fantastic. This is good stuff. Mac mentioned about Anthony Richardson. I want to talk about Richardson and whether or not he should be here in Cleveland when we come back from break, back after this.
This is Midnight Run on the Inside Edge Network. Here's your host, Anthony Alford.
Want to thank Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan for staying up late with us on Midnight Run. Again, incredible insight coming from Indianapolis in the NFL Scouting Combine. A lot of news, and it's a news gathering type of situation. I get it. Like, oh, Fernando Mendoza's not throwing. I mean, what else more do you need to see from him? But a lot of the other stars and, networking. We always talk about networking, how important it is. I want to get to his point about Anthony Richardson in just a second. Eli, if you can you put our schedule up for a hot second? Our Inside Edge Network schedule. There you see it there for the month of March. You see all of our great shows on the Inside Edge Network, including nightly Inside Edge Primetime with Eli Moon and Chad Bryant, myself, Midnight Run, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. I want to direct your attention over to Friday. Of course, Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast. And then we have a brand new show Friday night. David Ruiz and Autumn, Mic Check Take 2 will debut this Friday, 7 o'clock right here on the Inside Edge Network. Love bringing in new programming. Should be a very electric show on Friday nights. Mic check, take 2, coming at you on Friday, March the 6th. Is that Friday? March 6th? March 7th? March 6th. Listen, all of Sunday, I was saying on Sunday, hey, it's March 2nd. I went all of Saturday not even knowing that it was still February. I didn't realize last Saturday was February 28th. I thought it was March 1st. My clock is all over the place. Then we spring forward. Anthony Richardson is a very interesting situation, right? He's 23 years old, but if you didn't check yourself or didn't do the research, heck, I sometimes don't even follow up with research. You would think Anthony Richardson was 33 instead of 23 with the injury history that he has, the uncertainty that he's had. I mean, we said last year, like with all the quarterback trouble that the Colts had until, Daniel Jones was coming through and then he got hurt. Like, where's Anthony Richardson? Like last year, this past year would have been perfect for Anthony Richardson to ascend and be that guy for the Colts. A Colts team who started, I believe, 8-1, and unfortunately wasn't able to finish strong and make the playoffs. But Anthony Richardson could have potentially got a couple of those W's, but we just don't know with Anthony Richardson. I do agree with Mac from the standpoint of Malik Willis is probably a long shot. When you think about, or for 2 reasons. Number one, the contract and the money he is going to command. He is the top free agent quarterback in a quarterback class. Other than Mendoza, really other than Malik Willis, there are no exciting quarterbacks available through the draft at the top of the class, and free agency quarterbacks is very weak. So you're almost in a situation where you have to stick with what you have, right? But Malik Willis would be a tough sell. And we also mentioned the fact, too, on Midnight Run, that he shares the same agent as Deshaun Watson. So even from a practical standpoint, it wouldn't even make sense. Anthony Richardson, this is where I will respectfully, I get the premise that Mac was talking about. Like, you do need to bring in a body. Shador's play has been up and down, but I see more of the upside with Shador. And let's see what happens when he has a capable head coach, offensive play caller, and Todd Monken to make something work. But I will listen to the fact that you do need to bring in a body. And I've mentioned before that this is a 1-year situation here for Todd Monken and for Andrew Berry. They got to do whatever it takes to get it right. So even though I like Shador, they can't be locked in if they don't feel that he can handle the load. And I also mentioned, too, that Deshaun could win the job in week 1. So Anthony Richardson, loads of injury history, but he does have that big arm. He can, if you need a quarterback you could trust outdoors here in downtown Cleveland, Anthony Richardson could be that guy. Here's my major concern. He was already in an unstable situation with the Colts all those years. To be frank, this is an unstable situation here in Cleveland. And if you're not entirely sure if you can rebuild your offensive line, and again, I just hope that Joe Bitonio does return. By the way, credit to the Browns. They traded for Howard out of Houston for a 5th-round pick earlier today. So that's one piece down. You still got more to address. But can Anthony Richardson survive an offensive line that is depleted? And here's the other big thing. I don't know if Anthony Richardson can get you more wins than Shador Sanders. That's my holdup. Because if you're in an unstable environment like here in Cleveland, is it really worth it to bring in Anthony Richardson when you're not even sure or even confident that he's going to survive the season? And based on his track record, he won't be healthy enough to survive a season, what's the point of bringing in Anthony Richardson to be your QB1 if you're going to end up going back into Shedeur Sanders anyway? That's what it's going to come down to. In my mind, I don't know, and I'm not confident that Anthony Richardson will get you more W's than Shedeur Sanders. It's not something I'm confident in. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm a Browns fan. If they go and trade for Anthony Richardson, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is the place where he can restructure his career. Now, we have seen the playbook we've seen the Sam Darnold playbook. The Sam Darnold playbook, and I'm going to bring Eli in on this on the other side of the break here. The Sam Darnold playbook played itself out of if you're in a good environment, surrounded in a good franchise, you can restructure your career and be that guy. Anthony Richardson is only 23 years old. So if he ends up going to the Rams, and that's the other thing, does Anthony Richardson, who already requested a trade out of Indianapolis, does he still want to be a backup? Now, if the answer is yes, go to a good situation like the Colts, or I'm sorry, he's leaving the Colts. Go to a good situation like the Rams, learn under Matthew Stafford, learn under Sean McVay. Cliff Kingsbury is also on that staff now. Learn under those guys, have the tools that you need to be successful. But is that something that Anthony Richardson, is that something he wants to do? We'll talk more about Richardson on the other side. I want to bring Eli in on this on the other side of the break as well. Plus, the World Baseball Classic begins this week. Team USA is going to have their final matchup, one of their final matchups, I believe, against the San Francisco Giants. Is Team USA versus the world, is that the only sports rivalry that exists? In my opinion, I think so. We'll talk about that coming up on the other side as well. Plus, Floyd Mayweather, he owes some people some money, including Logan Paul. You'll hear that coming up in Dear Diary. Alley Rose Fragrances. Alley Rose, I'll tell you right now, my second candle is already in order. I got the Snickerdoodle candle on its way. And I'll tell you what, when you open the box, you just smell goodness. When you walk into a room, if you already have it lit, it smells phenomenal. And compared to the competitors, the burn time is a lot longer too. You can have a candle for over a week compared to a competitor, same size. It burns out quicker and you only have it for a few days and you wasted more money. These are very affordable candles. They're highest of quality. Alley Rose Fragrances. It's locally owned. In fact, the person who owns this is one of my good friends and co-worker, Allison. She does a great job. She's from here in Cleveland. She resides now in North Carolina, and that's where she makes these candles, handcrafted candles, Alley Rose Fragrances, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. And if you are a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20. That's InsideEdge20. Check out the website right now. You have no excuse not to have a good-smelling home. You have to have that. AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Back in a moment.
This is Midnight Run on the Inside Edge Network. Here's your host, Anthony Alford. This is Midnight Run on the Inside Edge Network. Here's your host, Anthony Alford.
Welcome back to Midnight Run. Here with you until 1. We was talking a little bit about, Anthony Richardson. We had Mac on earlier in the show from 92.3 The Fan. Brought up, the QB room with the Cleveland Browns and not much confidence across the board with what they have. Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson. I forgot to mention Dylan Gabriel. He's in there too. Anthony Richardson, I'm not overly confident about what kind of impact he could have with the Browns. I personally don't think the win total changes between Anthony Richardson and Shedeur Sanders, which is why I don't think you bring him in. But let me bring in Eli. I don't know if he agrees. I don't know if he disagrees. I did not ask him. So this will be fresh opinion from the golden child himself, Eli Moon. When you hear Anthony Richardson, perhaps with the Browns, what do you think, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like if you're the Browns, you're just creating another experiment. I mean, we already have that with Shedeur Sanders. We're having a conversation of if we need a 17-game season to find out what we exactly have, and I think the jury's still out on Anthony Richardson, to which we were kind of talking about in the last segment. He obviously suffered the orbital fracture, and that derailed any chance he really had to even try to take the job from Daniel Jones, who did a pretty good job up into his own injury last year. But if Anthony Richardson was the guy, don't you think the Colts wouldn't have been bringing in Daniel Jones? There's the accuracy issues are there. I mean, he has a crazy good arm, but a lot of guys have had crazy good arms, have never been able to find the pinpoint accuracy to make it really count. I think there's a lot to like in terms of, he's got AFC North build. I mean, he's built for the AFC North in terms of the stature and the arms there. It's just can't really put the ball on the money. And right now we have trouble with guys catching the ball when it's on the money. If it's not on the money, are they going to catch the ball? So there's a lot there, Double A. I don't know. I'm not necessarily sold on it. I think we should just rock with Shedeur. I think everything else should be the focus besides quarterback. It's especially with 2027 being the draft class that everybody has their eyes on with Arch Manning, Dante Moore going back to school. You have so many other guys. I mean, you just don't know what it's going to look like entirely, but you at least have an idea that there's some good names coming out of that class. Trinidad Chambliss, another one. So we'll see.
I guess my only thing would be, Eli, unless Todd Monken is overly confident in Anthony Richardson and he walks in the door basically as QB1, I have a plan with this kid, because the only good thing about him is that he is 23.
Right.
He's not 33. He's not even 28. He's 23. So if Todd Monken, Eli, is saying this kid is the reason why I could win, he reminds me of Lamar Jackson, he could be our ticket for success. It would have to be a ringing endorsement, Eli, from Todd Monken to convince me that Anthony Richardson could be that guy here in Cleveland.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And I think, we talk about for years about, can Kevin Stefanski get his guy? Is he allowed to get his guy at quarterback? If Todd Monken, if his guy is Anthony Richardson, then hey, let's party. I mean, what else do we have to lose? We're only up from here, AA.
Right. Let's move on to the World Baseball Classic. Because let me show you real quick. I just loaded it in during the commercial here. So that is those are the top 10 players in the World Baseball Classic, which started back in 2006. But even back in 2006, the WBC, and every time I say WBC, I think of boxing, because that's the WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, World Ring Mag. Do you know that the Ring magazine has a world championship? And it's like it's like almost the top recognizable. I can only imagine. Can you imagine in pro wrestling? The Wrestling Observer World Champion. What? Yeah, the Wrestling Observer World Champion, Kyle Fletcher. But here, at least, look at all the talent that's there. But look at all those. Look at the loaded stars from the United States that's in there. Of course, Aaron Judge being at the very top. All those names are very notable names. These are the top names in baseball. And baseball over the years has done a phenomenal job of marketing themselves. Eli, my bad. You got to put it on the correct screen. I forgot which screen you had it set on. My bad. But thank you. Completely. When we do main event, I know what screen to go to for the solo show. I have no effing clue. Now I see it. Okay. So here's, there's a topic that I've been shoving. I just haven't had time to do it with the basketball Olympics. We still won't have time to do it tonight. But I put personal blame in my generation, the millennials. The millennials have gone away from personal rivalries. Everyone is friends, right? You can't do American League versus National League. Everyone's friends. You can't do Eastern Conference versus Western Conference because everybody's buddies. I remember in particular, and I texted Eli earlier. I just asked him. I didn't even tell him the context of the question. I'm like, other than Golden State, who's LeBron's greatest rival? I believe Eli said the Spurs was in there. Yep. But I remember, it's just stuck in my mind. When LeBron debuted, I think the second week of the season, the NBA scheduled a national TV game between the Cavs and the Denver Nuggets. And it was and obviously that pitted LeBron versus Carmelo Anthony. And we were saying at the time, a lot of media folks were saying, and they weren't wrong in the assumption, they were saying that this is basketball's next biggest rival. This is Larry versus Magic, and you're seeing the origins of it from day one. It's going to start with this matchup on November 5th, 2003, and transcend the game of basketball for the next 2 decades. None of that materialized. You even had LeBron versus D. Wade. We all know what happened then. They joined forces. So our generation, we have more so embraced brotherhood and friendship which from a personal standpoint, that's absolutely cool. I mean, we talk about mental health and all that stuff all the time. So that matters more. But in terms of rivalries, in country sports rivalries, I just don't think really exist that much among players. Fans, yes. Fans, absolutely. Fans will hype up different rivalries and all that stuff, but not base or not sports in general. The only sports rivalry in the United States that players care about is the United States Team USA versus the world, versus international stars. That's why this World Baseball Classic is so intriguing. I believe it was Shohei Ohtani who led Team Japan to the last WBC title 4 years ago. Now Team USA cares. That's because here in the States, we don't want other international stars to prove that they're the face of the game that we started here in the States, because we have that world supremacy. Team USA, that's just what it is. That's why Olympic hockey was huge. That's why USA versus the world, that format with the NBA All-Star Weekend, that's why it worked. That's why they might stick with that format. The four nations. And the last thing, I know I'm running short on time, the four nations thing, highly successful, highly successful. I know the NBA gets flack over crappy All-Star Weekend stuff, and I get it. When's the last time, other than the four nations, anybody talked about the NHL All-Star Game? I've been around sports. I have followed sports religiously now for 23 years. Until last year, no one gave a rat's ass about the NHL All-Star Game. At least people care enough about the NBA All-Star Game to complain and moan about it. No one cared about the NHL All-Star Game. So this whole they cared about the four nations format because it's USA versus the world. Nobody care about the NHL All-Star Game. So let's stop it. But yeah, this World Baseball Classic, we'll keep tracks, we'll keep tabs of it. The first game is Friday night, and I can't wait to dive in and watch the WBC. It's baseball. It's baseball. All right, it's time for Dear Diary. It's time. We're going to get some production with this soon. And when I say we're going to get production, maybe within the next 9 months, we'll get production. This is to Floyd Mayweather, his team. Not to Floyd Mayweather himself, because Floyd Mayweather himself would knock me out. So I'm not doing a Dear Diary to Floyd Mayweather. This is to his representatives. Dear Diary, please give Floyd Mayweather his money so he doesn't have to kill himself this year. Oh, I'm sorry. Scratch that. Unalive. We're on YouTube. Unalive. Floyd, who during his prime a decade ago only took one fight a year. Based on the latest announcements, he now has 4 fights scheduled between boxing and a little bit of showcase MMA. Please, representatives, pay Floyd Mayweather so he can actually enjoy his retirement. And one of the representatives that he has to perhaps pay is Logan Paul. We have the clip. Take a look.
No, I didn't make as much money as you'd think fighting Floyd.
Did you get paid from that?
He still owes me $1.5 million. Maybe more.
How does he owe you the money? Why don't you just
Here's what happened. He pre-sold the fight using my likeness to some company in, I think, Dubai or the Middle East. This is my understanding of it, for $10 million cash. We ended up doing the fight in the States with a different company. That is the company that put on the fight. That is the company that paid. But he sold our fight with my name and likeness to someone else in Dubai for $10 million cash. It's our fight, bro. Our deal was 15%. smoked me. So I got 15% of it. 15% of $10 million is $1.5 million. That company that paid him that money is suing him. I actually don't know the status on that lawsuit. I should check in because he still owes me money, but he has a bunch of legal trouble at the moment that I don't think I'm ever getting the money.
Courtesy of the Logan Paul podcast and all the other stuff that he's involved with. Number one, he's probably not going to get that money back because I think the money that he assumed in terms of the image and likeness might have been scam money. So maybe nobody's getting that money at all. But it's just one of those cases. It's clear and obvious, all kidding aside about Floyd Mayweather, it's clear and obvious that the team around him screwed him. I don't know if they screwed him or yes, they screwed him, but to the extent it's a little crazy. And I understand the whole trend of legends coming back and competing and getting back in, but you got to have the right people around you. You really do. You really do. But also you can't, while you are going about business, you can't be screwing people that you're doing business with. And the Paul brothers and Logan Paul, that's not somebody who you want to screw business relations with. You just don't want to do that. Logan Paul could have been somebody who could really help you in this situation. The Paul brothers. I mean, I have immense respect for Jake Paul in terms of the promotions that he's running. I think they're doing a great job, but that's not good. That's not good. And we'll hear more about that. But Logan Paul saying, hey, he owes us, what was it, 1.5 million? It's like 15% of that. 15% of 10 million. That's crazy. All right. That is the end of Midnight Run for tonight. I want to thank Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan for joining us for the first half of the show. If you missed that interview, go back on the stream and watch it. We talked about the NFL Scouting Combine, what he got out of it, and the word of the Cleveland Browns and all that stuff. Anthony Richardson got into that conversation as well. And the World Baseball Classic, I think it's worth watching. I think it's going to be a great watch going into the month of March. On tomorrow's show, Miami of Ohio is probably going to be the story of March. And it may either have a happy ending or not. Also, we'll react to Cavs and Pistons tomorrow night. Donovan Mitchell, I do not think is playing tomorrow night. So we will react to that game and also Miami of Ohio. All right. For my producer, Eli Moon, for all of us here at the Inside Edge Network, for Mac Robinson, AA Anthony Alford signing off. Have a great night. Remember, tune in to Inside Edge Prime Time at 10 with Eli Moon and Chad Bryant, followed by Midnight Run with me at midnight at Inside Edge Net. Good night, everybody.
This is Midnight Run on the Inside Edge Network. Here's your host, Anthony Alford.